I think we're just going to jump right into some talking hockey because there wasn't anything too much that stood out. So I apologize to those who are not Leafs fans. That's pretty much all we're going to talk about here. They come out, they dominate the Canucks again, a 5-1 win. Austin Matthews makes the rookie Chatfield look like he was standing still on one of the goals, and then he's so good. Austin is just so good. I love watching him play. Wayne Simmonds had 2 goals, one of them on the power play where he just turned around and sniped it. That was lovely. And then the tip, all his goals are going to be net front. He won't have a couple for a while. We'll get there. The Leafs have scored now 7 straight games, a goal on the power play. And Manny Malhotra has done a fantastic job reorienting the power play and kind of splitting guys up on unit 1, unit 2, creating a bit of competition and incentive between the 2 units to really see who can produce the best. So that's been really, really effective. Mitch Marner continues to just grab points everywhere and gobble them up. And Freddie has been what we've needed him to be so far. With Campbell being out, he's got to play a ton of these games until Jack's back. And there were moments when he's a little unsteady, but for the most part, he made some big saves in the limited action he saw in the first 2 periods, and that was important. There was a deflating offside goal taken back in that game on Saturday night, which, you know how I stand on offside. Like, that's such a ticky tack. It is offside. The goal comes back, but I just don't appreciate how close it is because it really doesn't affect the play too much. But that goal gets taken back, and that was kind of the big sucker punch to the Canucks, and they really didn't have life after that. They're going to try and scramble and at least get some points tonight as they go for round 3, Leafs and Canucks. But from what I've seen so far, the Leafs are truly just dominating the Canucks in their end. It's been tough to watch the Canucks D try and deal with the Leafs high-powered O.
Yeah, I mean, I was so nervous heading into this series, having the Habs, who are kind of neck and neck with the Leafs for the number 1 spot in the division and kind of in the whole league. After watching the Habs dominate the Canucks, okay, this is the standard they've set of what the best team does to a underperforming, not elite, not high level team. And it's nice to see the Leafs come out and match that standard. Just the goaltending, what it should, the high powered offense as it should be, the defense not giving up much. I mean, a good offense is the best defense, but defense, I didn't catch the game, but from the Thursday night, I think, game, everything was clicking, and the stat line says that trend just continued. Yeah. But
yes, we get into the injury bug, and luckily, fingers crossed, right now the COVID stuff has been okay north of the border for the hockey and hasn't had too much of an impact. But the Leafs, the injuries are starting to pile up, and that's one of the concerns of obviously every team has going into a season. Wayne Simmonds looks to be out 6 weeks with his injury, which is a huge bummer. They've already lost Joe Thornton, obviously lost Nick Robertson, 3 kind of key pieces on the offensive side, and then Jack Campbell's out right now, so no backup goalie, and Travis Dermott is out with the injury. So a lot of injuries down the line for the Leafs. Luckily, they're a bit deeper than they have been in previous years. You're going to have to look for guys like Spezza to keep up their production. You're going to have to look for guys like VC and Travis Boyd and Nick Patan, who actually has been pretty good against the Canucks the last 2 games. You have to look for guys like that to step up. I think probably Mikheyev gets the call up to the second line to play with Willie and Tavares, but you could see any one of those guys really get thrown into that role because they all are kind of a similar type player in terms of some decent offensive talent. They buzz around a bit, but they won't dish out too much physical punishment. I think that's the biggest loss that you get from Simmonds and Thornton is now you really don't have anyone to sit at the front of the net again, which is what the Leafs could not do last year. And so hopefully they can hang on, and maybe there's a trade in there somewhere to just kind of stem the tide. I saw they signed Scott Sabrin off waivers. I don't know if that's really going to do much. Maybe they'll stick him on the fourth line. I doubt it. He's not great. But yeah, just tough for the penalties, or it's tough for the injuries. Pardon me. The Leafs got to really just slog through it and get those guys fresh. It could actually be a blessing in disguise if Thornton and Simmonds get a lower usage rate throughout the season, so that they're still fresh for the playoffs, because that's when they're going to be needed the most. So yeah, just we'll see how it goes tonight with the new look lineup, and yeah, just keep on chugging. They're still at the top of the North Division, which is all you can ask for.
Yeah, the power plays probably the biggest loss, and Thornton and Simmonds were our two guys we wanted to put in front of that, and it's so heartbreaking that Simmonds, after getting 2 goals and kind of cementing a place on the second line, which I love that second line of Tavares, Nylander, Simmonds. Like, it just matches like speed, skill, and physicality and grit. So it balances all those qualities out so well. But I guess there's two ways to look at it. One is that those guys are just so good that kind of the same as Matthews Marner, it doesn't really matter who you put on the line with them. They're just going to elevate that third player's game. And I've loved what I've seen of Mikheyev, so I'd be really happy if he and Keefe has gone to that a couple times. I've actually really liked the looks that second line has been able to give in the offensive zone, especially when those three players start buzzing. So I guess from on one hand, you could say like, well, they're going to have chemistry with like almost every damn player on the roster if the injuries keep forcing Keefe to cycle through the lines. But you would like to see some consistency develop. I was just thinking about this now with the way the American three divisions are going. Maybe what you see happen is, if I'm like, what I kind of hope to see from both the NBA and the NHL is they say, okay, I know we said we were going to start the playoffs on this day, but like, hey, COVID cases are going down, vaccines are coming. We're just going to push the playoffs back 2 weeks and like fit all the games we missed in there, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't know. And the playoffs will start when they start. No need to like really compress the schedule and like threaten the wear and tear. But if you're in the Canadian division, maybe that turns into like a 2-3 week layoff because there's just way, and you get all your players to full health. There is, I guess we'll monitor that as it comes along. We'll get a peek at what the NBA is thinking soon when they announce the second half of the season, and we're watching the NHL go through its COVID adversity in real time. I think 4 games got postponed Saturday. So that's my hope. They, rather than the NFL style of just fit all the games in and start the playoffs at the scheduled time, which you sort of understand because they were on track for the regular season already, and the Super Bowl is such like an iconic time of year. I understand the thought behind not wanting to mess that up and disrupt it, but I hope the NHL, MLB, NBA can be a little more flexible.
Yeah, it sounds like a smart idea. We obviously know that some leagues don't make smart ideas, but yeah, only thing we can do is from here is watch and put our opinions out there, and maybe it gets picked up somewhere by some executive and they decide to make the call, but really doubt that happens. Luckily, we have all our virtual neighbors out there who will listen to the call and take it up with us. I hope most of you agree. If you don't, feel free to reach out to us. Be an interesting discussion. But yeah, want to thank each and every one of you once again for listening. We appreciate the support. Find us anywhere, and don't be afraid to reach out on social media. Would love to interact, and don't be afraid to share with your friends. Trying to build that following, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for listening.
Well said. I've got nothing more to add other than the usual Sports Next Door signing off.